So you're not only experiencing the culture of the country you're in, you're meeting all these people from around the world, and you're going out with them and you're grabbing food, and you see their take on things, the perspective. You have best conversations ever. And so that's a big part of traveling to me. It's not just the place you're going. It's like also the other people you're meeting. And that comes full circle. You meet people, let's go out to food, and then you eat some local food, and you're sharing it with this group of international people. And that's your whole experience, you know?
It's gonna be a really neat behind the scenes.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so weird.
Because something always magical happens.
Wait, what? Did you just make that up? Hey, it's Meredith for Real, the Curious Introvert. Listen each week as I talk with someone new. The topics are as ADD as I am, but they'll inspire you to stay curious and grow. Big thanks to our location sponsor, the UWF Historical Trust.
Hey, Curiositors, it's me, Meredith. We've had some really practical episodes lately. Overcoming languishing, conquering overwhelm, networking as an introvert, and addressing homelessness. This episode offers a less pragmatic listen, and on two of my favorite subjects, food and travel. And I'd like to offer up a challenge. After listening to this episode, try eating food from a different culture and message me about something you learned about that culture in the process. I'd really love to hear because honestly, I'll probably make a to-eat list from what you send me. You can just find me on Instagram at Meredith for Real. And thank you to all of you who've been listening and sending me feedback for a while now. Podcast land can be a strange one because I can see download numbers, but no faces obviously, or not even usually feedback. And giant thanks to all of you who have left me reviews on Apple Podcasts. That helps me book great guests. Also, I've rebranded my Zoom room Mingle. It is now called Introverts Anonymous. So meet me on Zoom each month with your favorite Zoom face filter to talk about recent episodes, favorite episodes, whatever comes up. Save your spot by clicking the link in the episode description or on my Instagram bio. And if you're new here, welcome. I started this podcast in 2019 as a project to inspire people to choose curiosity over judgment. I especially like talking to people who are a paradox, and each guest brings a personal development opportunity along with their story so you can stay curious and grow. There's no particular order in which you have to listen to episodes, so just have a look around and hit play on whatever grabs your attention. All right, enjoy the show. We eat out of necessity. We eat when we're stressed, bored, or even tired. When do we eat to connect with people who are different than us? My next guest had his first food industry job at age 18, but didn't take his first international trip till he was 30. And today he's going to share his perspective on why food connects us, travel is essential, and how a Southern white guy becomes obsessed with Latin culture. New Orleans born, Florida grown, Olive Garden employee survivor, Randy Russell.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you survived that Olive Garden pretty good, so I'm glad you made it here.
Yeah, I know. That was working through college days, and actually funny. Learned a lot from doing that. Never want to work in a corporate setting again.
Yeah, it's all about a process of elimination.
Yes.
I found it interesting that you didn't travel until age 30, which is not usually the case. Usually travel-obsessed people, they travel early on. So what made you decide at age 30, I'm going to go places?
It was, I started young in restaurants and just like most people who work in kitchens just worked their life away and just never really lived or did a lot. And then it was actually, I got invited on a surf trip with the Waterboys crew. A good friend of mine, Randy Blackwell, was like, hey, we take a trip every year. We always bring along a newbie. And he invited me to go with them. And we went to Costa Rica with those guys. And that was the kind of first time I'd left the country. And then kind of realized like, wow, this isn't that hard. And then went back again, then again, and then started going, I'm going to go to other countries. And kind of just started floating around from there, and then fell in love with it and was like, wow, really, this is what I would do with my life. At that time, I was determined that I would live a vagabond traveling around the world, and I tried at one point, and I left for good in my mind, and I lasted a year and then came back.
So travel was important to you, but not enough to be a nomad your whole life.
Yeah, it's you realize you you miss the things like comforts of home, like close friends. You're constantly roaming around. You don't get the kind of connections you normally do at home. You can't make jokes with people that you would. There's not that, every culture has a different set of just their humor's different. Everything's different. So you just miss those kind of things like familiarity with home. And so eventually I just got really like missed home and lonely and just like, man, you know what? I think I'm gonna go back.
So when did traveling to other countries become a cultural focus and not just like a trip?
It was probably like the third or maybe even the fourth trip, because I was just going for surf trips at first. And I was a budget backpacker, living in hostels, camping, living as cheap as I could. And it was all about surf at first. And of course you're discovering new cultures and all that, but it really wasn't until probably my first trip to South America was, because I was going to Central America, mainly Costa Rica, Nicaragua, and Panama. And then my first trip to South America was Ecuador and Peru. And all of a sudden I found myself in like mountains and other places, and it was a drastically different culture than Central America. And then I kind of it opened me up to there's a lot more out there. And everywhere's different. And the world has a lot to offer. So then it turned into just, a lot broader interest and wanting to see everywhere and go to different places. It wasn't about surfing anymore then. Then I quit taking surf trips, honestly, after that. It was I would go to places, and if it was a place where I could surf, great, but it didn't limit my traveling anymore. It was more about just exploring people and culture and food and all those kind of things.
Can you think of a specific interaction with someone when you were traveling, a local, that sealed the deal for your love of specifically Latin culture?
Oh man, that's hard. One of the things that I love so much, and this comes from seeing both sides, both extremes of these of this aspect of culture, is Latin culture is so passionate. It's all about, it's just things are, when there's anger, there's real anger. When there's love, there's real love. It's such an expressionary, and I really love that. And I remember that trip in Ecuador. Because here, I don't go out. I'm not a partier. I don't even back then, I wasn't really, I go out and have a drink here and there. But in Ecuador, I would be dancing salsa on a beach in a little beach club when the sun came up. I was a different person. It was it just brought it out of me. And I was like, oh man, everything is it's so heightened there. And then years later, I ended up in Southeast Asia. And Asia is a very kind of repressed society where emotions aren't really shown as much. There was never public displays of affection, which in Latin America, you're in a grocery store and there's a couple making out over the mangoes. It's a very normal thing. And so I kind of saw both, and I realized oh man, this isn't really my culture, where everything's kind of repressed and it's kind of sterile, and it's and there's amazing things about Asia and Southeast Asia that I love, but Latin America was kind of more of a festive, fun, just freer, more expressive kind of culture, and that's one of the big things that kind of drew me to it.
Yeah, I love all those things that you just said as well. It's in my heart, so I really relate to that. What made Colombia your favorite country?
Colombia was incredible. So at the time, when I went to Ecuador and Peru, I was meeting people, other backpackers that were kind of coming, they were traveling around, they were coming out of Colombia, and everyone was like, oh my God, Colombia. It's the hidden gem. Go before everyone finds out. And this is at a really good time in Colombia. They had a really good president. All of the bad things you associate with Colombia, kidnappings, drug cartels, all that's gone. That all disappeared in the 90s. So it was a very safe, very amazing place. And Colombians they are some of the most passionate people on the planet. And Colombia they were so happy to see foreigners go there because they had this horrible stigma about their country. And so I went and I spent 2 months in Colombia. So it was a pretty long trip. And what I loved about it, besides those things, was it has everything, all the things that I like in other countries. So Caribbean coast with gorgeous beaches, very tropical. The big cities are amazing. They're big cities, but they're not dirty, crime-ridden, horrible. They're gorgeous with lots of history. And then there's mountains, incredible mountains, these little tiny villages up in the mountains, like coffee country, and just you could go up there and hang out with farmers and just do nothing. And then it had so many different kind of things that other places I'd been to had, but Colombia seemed to have it all. And then you'd be in Colombia and you'd meet someone and, they'd be like, ¿de dónde eres? Like, where are you from? And you're like, Estados Unidos, and they're like, oh, why are you here? And then you're like, oh, for vacation. And they're like, oh, so you came here, like you chose to come here. And you're like, yeah. And they're like, how do you like it? And then you're like, oh my God, I love it. And they're like, they go nuts. They're like, ah, and then they're buying you drinks and they're your best friend all night. And they're just so excited. They were so excited to see foreigners go there because they had such a bad reputation and they had so much there was so much happiness and joy. And it was such a cool experience. And it was 2 months, and I remember coming back from Colombia and not wanting to leave after 2 months, going, oh my God, I got to go home. And usually at that time period, you're ready to come home. You're kind of like, okay, I want to go home. But I remember being like, I want to live in Colombia. Like, that's it.
Wow. And was it how did the food play a part in you connecting in these cultures? Obviously, it wasn't a hard time connecting in Colombia or any of the other Latin countries, but what role did food play in creating those bridges between the two cultures that you would be experiencing?
So, and this kind of comes into play why Nomadic Eats is what it is too, is so as a cheap backpacker, I'm eating cheap. I'm eating street food. I'm eating at little stalls, little vendors, and you're not going to restaurants and going full on dinners. And I do now when I travel because I'm spoiling myself a little. I do a little bit of both. But back then especially, it was about just eating street food and eating up the streets and eating what the locals eat. And that's the best way to see the culture. And you're in these little mom and pops places individually owned. And so in doing that and then coming back and doing it across the world, most countries, street food in America is not as big of a thing as it is in countries like that. Southeast Asia is, it's all about street food. Most of a lot of Latin America is all about street food, and it's some of the best food. So when I came back to the United States, I kind of realized what do I want to do? I want to be a chef again. And I worked at some restaurants here and I worked at some really nice places. And then I kind of wanted to do my own thing. But I realized I could go two routes, and I feel like I had the capability to go high-end restaurants and learn that field. And I already had some classic French training in other restaurants and knew how to do all of that type of cuisine. But I wanted to feed the people. I wanted to create this thing to where it's a casual street food kind of thing to where I feed the cooks and staff in a restaurant. I'm not going to the high-end restaurants, or I'm not a person working in the high-end restaurants. I wanted to feed and provide affordable food for the common people basically. And so that's so looking at it, what is that in the United States? That's a food truck is kind of the closest thing. And first my model was even smaller. I wanted to have a little hot dog stand, but do not hot dogs, really cool stuff, and gone about, what I could do and legally and what you had to have. I was like, well, let me just do a small little food truck and come up with this menu. But that's kind of the thing because it's a setting to where it has a very casual model. So the expectations aren't there. It's not like you're going this formal thing and sitting down. So it's a friendly, fun thing. And that's what I enjoyed. When you go and you have customers come up and there's banter and you get to know people and, so that's the model I wanted. I didn't want a more stuffy environment. So I love that kind of stuff and I miss it now. And in the future, I do plan on doing some nice dinners and sit down things where we do higher end kind of food. But it's kind of I wanted to be the chef who's just I want to do street food the American way and just have fun, casual experiences with people and be the guy who feeds the working class, and the normal people are just I need lunch. I don't need to go to a restaurant and sit down.
Yeah, and I do like the social aspect around food trucks. You said that they're way more popular in Asia, in Latin America. Why do you think they're not as popular here in the U.S.?
Mostly legalities, what you can have. You can't just have a little stand here with a propane tank next to it and your son is running a grocery store back and forth grabbing you stuff because you're running out of ingredients. And you need things like a mobile food vending unit you need 3-compartment sinks, you need this, you need all these kind of things. So it's hard to do just a little stand. Over there, I'm not sure what every country's different, but it's almost like there's no rules in a lot of these countries. I'm sure there are, and I'm sure somebody's getting paid for them to be there. But it's almost a blessing and a curse because we have a lot of regulations here that keep things safe. I have to be a certified food manager. I have to have all these different things and make sure I get inspected. So, I'm providing a safe product to the public. Over there, it's just like, I mean, anything goes, it's like, I don't know what this guy, and traveling, that's what I ate. I was like, what's that little wooden table with that person with something on a stick? Like, I'm going to go try it, I'm going to eat that.
That was us too in Nicaragua, and Costa Rica. Anytime we saw food available at a gas station, that was like our clue, like, ooh, that must be good. I'm not sure. Even now, when we see a food truck near a gas station, we're like, that is potentially some very good food.
Exactly.
And we just beeline to it. But it's such a conversational opportunity. So it is more social, I think, than a restaurant where you... you sit and then you're seated in a food truck environment, Well, at least in Latin America, I was definitely trying to get recipes off of I did, actually. We have a great ceviche recipe now because of interviewing the woman running it. Yeah. And we also got some unsolicited marriage advice. So it's just the give and take, of what happens.
Yeah, we try not to go that far at Nomadic Eats. But
Noted.
We will if asked.
Well, we called this episode The Food That Connects Us. And I think about the way that you make connections when you travel and the way that you gather inspiration for recipes and flavor profiles. And what's so interesting is that you connect them in order to make a totally unique product most of the time. It's not like, oh, this is exactly how they make it traditionally in X country. You put your own spin on it. So how do you know what parts of your favorite foods to extract?
It's a lot of, like you said, the word you said a minute ago, like flavor profiles. When you go, a lot of people think recipes, this and that. And when you kind of get a good knowledge of food, you look for flavor profiles and components that work well with other things. And that's one of the things that Nomadic Eats was kind of first started. It was Latin food and Southeast Asian food because that's the two places in the world at the time I'd spent the most. And so much of the profiles just went together. They're pickling things, they're using spice, they're using a lot of the same ingredients. So I'll kind of go somewhere, and like for instance, last year I was in California, and I was in LA, and I ate amazing food and tacos in LA and stuff. And I went to some really nice high-end taco places, and there were things, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like this one little sauce. Like I want to make this sauce, but I know it'll go with something that I kind of do otherwise. So it's little things you pick up, and it's always kind of this thing like I don't want to rip these places off. I don't want to go and copy what they do. But then sometimes you're like, but they did it so well, and like this is perfect, and I know I could recreate this. But you don't just want to go copying people's stuff. You want to make it your own, and you just want to kind of pick up on how they do things. Like, okay, this sauce went really well with this, the texture of this nut, or this tortilla worked really good with this, and I know it won't work with this other thing if I try to do it that way. So it's just little components, and it's just all from experience and honestly in cooking and trying stuff out. We try stuff on the truck. Now we're pretty good. We can just nail stuff a lot, like pretty quick. Like, let's do this, and I know it'll work, and then it will. We're like, oh, great, let's tweak it a little bit this way. But it's a lot of trial and error. I've made tons of stuff that the public's never seen that sounded, I was like, this is going to be amazing. And then I made it, and I was like, that is horrible. Like that did not work.
Any plans for ceviche? I haven't seen any.
I haven't done ceviche in a long time. And I actually had a ceviche recently in Mexico that I was like, holy moly, this is the most unique, coolest thing ever. And I kind of wanted to tweak some of it. Ceviches are hard to do in a food truck too. Seafood is really expensive. And it's hard to charge $12, $14 for a small portion of something on a food truck. And that's what keeps some of the higher end things off the truck. But there's definitely some things that I kind of want to try. And as soon as I get around to it, there's a ceviche I had recently in Mexico, and I was blown away. I was like, oh my, and it was at a nice place. It was a place that's ranked 26 in the world at the time, restaurant, 26th best restaurant in the world. So it was a high end, a really nice place. And they did this thing, and I was like, this sauce and the way this stud and this goes, and I was like, I can make this. Like, I know how to do this, and I know these profiles, and I was like, okay, well, how do I do this and not just rip it off just ceviche? So I've got some kind of ideas, but they did. I don't want to say anything right now, but the things they did with it and the things they use is right up my alley, and it's in tune with things that I love and do. And I was like, this is something exactly that I would do on a more casual version on the truck. These same exact flavors, same way it's done, but this is in a amazing high-end restaurant. It was that dish was my favorite dish I ate in Mexico on this latest trip. And I went to Pujol. I wasn't at Pujol either. I went to Pujol, which was ranked was 12th in the world at the time. I went twice. And this dish was better than anything I had there. I was blown away by it. So yeah, hopefully maybe a world-renowned ceviche will inspire something on the food truck soon.
Well, I'll be first in line because that would be amazing. When you've talked a lot in other interviews about the importance of being able to, in a sense, stay small on your food truck and that connection. How would you describe the importance of being able to connect through your food versus having incredible food and serving a volume of the population?
Yeah, that's a hard one. It's the beginning of my truck. I wanted to be. It was basically like I want one employee. That's all I want. I want to be able to manage everything on the truck. I want this small thing that I can just make a living doing. And it grew and it grew. And now we do a good bit of volume, and we have demand to do a lot more. And it's like, no, we do lunch 5 days a week, and that's all we can do. I can't do caterings right now. We don't have the staff. So there is a fine line. It keeps us from doing things on the truck that I would love to do this. I'm like, there's no way we can execute that as fast as we need to do with what we have and the manpower on the truck. Like, we can't do that. So there's tons of ideas that just get tabled, and it's like, one day we're going to do tasting dinners, in a space and do all these things and do nicer plated stuff to where we can spend time and do small, community style dinners and things. But it also goes into play, like staying small. We keep a lot of the same people coming back. We see a lot of the same people every week. We know them. I will apologize to everyone out there for forgetting your name. I'm the worst person. I tell everyone all the time, oh God, I can't remember your name. What's your name again? It's just a mental block with me. I can't remember names, but I remember faces really well. Mm-hmm. And, my staff remembers exactly what they eat. And when I write it down wrong on a ticket, they go, oh, hey, he wants no mayonnaise on that, right? And I go, yeah. Thanks for catching it. And that happens almost daily, honestly. Because we have so many regulars that eat there. So it's keeping that small scale, and it lets you, have that familiarity with your clientele. But then also with the staff. Like, I have 2 employees now, and I don't want a whole lot more. I need more, and I'm going to have more at some point. But I have 2 amazing guys right now who probably the best Nomadics has ever been running is right now with the staff I have. These 2 guys, Chris and Anthony, are incredible. So I'm really lucky to have them. But it's also that too. It's like, we know each other's jobs so well. We know our processes. We know our, what we do, that we just function so well and efficient because it's just us 3. And it's a very casual, it's not like, oh, the guy who closed last night didn't do this or left this a mess and we had to come in and do it. It's just us 3. We do everything. So it's a very more kind of intimate, sorry guys, I didn't mean to use the word intimate with you guys, but it's a more intimate setting.
Hey, at least he remembered y'all's names, so
yeah, exactly.
You're welcome.
Nailed it first time, didn't even stutter.
That's hilarious. Well, it's interesting to talk about scale and future plans because there's so many of us in our 30s and 40s who we love the ideas of growing our businesses or growing professionally and commit ourselves to that path, but often lose the other things that we were so passionate about, say, in our 20s. And what I find so paradoxical about you is you said you're 46.
Yep, just turned 46.
46. And but you make time to travel. So I just would love to know how you reconcile all of that in your head, because you take a whole month off in August usually, yep, right? To go and do the thing that you love. So how does that wrestling match in your head? How does it look?
Hey everyone, just a quick interruption to show gratitude to our sponsors and give you some special deals.
The UWF Historical Trust. We shoot the show at the Museum of Commerce and the Pensacola Museum of History. And it's not just an amazing step back into the 18 and 1900s, but it's an event space too. And because they love creative collaborations and have spaces for all party sizes, they're pretty much the perfect venue to make your event stand out. So if you need a unique space in downtown Pensacola, take a look at historicpensacola.org. And if you want to tour one of the 12 museums, get your tickets in person so you can show the agent one of my emails and get $2 off an adult ticket. Get emails by texting REAL to 66866. It seems like no one can agree on anything nowadays, but I have found the unifier to unite us all. Mosquitoes suck. Mine were so bad, they were in my car. Have you ever tried to swat a mosquito while driving? Not advised. Insect has been great because they guarantee their work and pollinator care is always top of mind. If you live in the Florida Panhandle or the Gulf Coast of Alabama, give them a call, ensec.net.
Now back to the show.
It's hard. The thing you said about like, everyone's usually trying to grow a business and they're trying to get bigger and expand, and that's the normal model, and that's what people want to do. And I started Nomadic Eats kind of backwards. I was like, I want to be smaller and I don't want to grow. I just want to do what I love and make a living out of it and create something. And it turned into this big thing, and I was like, wow, we're really popular, and it worked out, which is thankful. It's awesome. But we never that's the thing. We never lose track of that. Like, we close, I travel, I got to get out there. That's my reset time. I don't ever want to kind of lose that. And it's a constant kind of battle between the bigger thing is like, part of me is like, I want to do more. Like, I want to have I have probably, I don't even know how many like food truck concepts in my head to where we can expand on the franchise, and I can be like, dude, we can do this little thing and this little thing. And I did the tamale truck. We opened that, and we kind of did a little bit with it. We're not even running it right now because we're just kind of focused on Nomadic Eats. But I have so many things that it's like, no, you don't want an empire. There's so much that comes with that. There's so much more. Like, even though if I staffed it, I found great staff, which is the hardest thing right now, and that's keeping me from doing a lot right now is the staffing. Even though you staff it, you can have people running it. You're never completely away from it. You're going to have more, it's going to create more work for you, no matter how good a staff you have. So it's this battle of always like, I want to do more. I want to do more things. I want to do all these cool things, but like, no, you need to have a life. You need to like, don't weigh yourself down. Like, your time is not, you're trying to go opposite. I used to work probably 70 hours plus a week, 70 to 80 hours a week. Now I'm down to probably mid 50s, and it feels really nice. So it's like, keep getting it down, work on kind of refining this and finding some more staff soon, and kind of like, getting the truck to where it's kind of running, you can step off. And we have the cafe now, which we have plans to kind of do something different with that in the future. And that's kind of an ongoing process, but we kind of want to bring something more with it to Pensacola and do a really cool thing there. But that's, once again, all right, we're going to do this whole new thing. We're going to do this. It's adding to the little empire. But I think it would be worth it. And it's something that I wanted to do from the very beginning when I signed the lease there. And it's just like the world didn't really provide. So it's like getting back to that.
Yeah, there was definitely a few obstacles.
Yeah, just a few, yep.
I know we look forward to seeing what you have. And I love that you do make time for travel. And because your brand is so popular, that people see what it looks like when you travel. I'm someone that thinks that travel is essential and that it's important to gain perspective. And it's so easy to use food to connect with other cultures when you travel. Everyone has to eat anyway.
Yeah. We hope that, that's the thing is our people do have such a connection to Nomadic Eats that follow us on social media, that when we travel, they're watching and they see it and they come back and they're like, oh my God, your trip looked great, this and that, and you did this and you ate that. And then we do specials and we do kind of things, and they kind of realize, and hopefully it does inspire people to like, let me get out there, let me go to these places. And it doesn't happen like as much as I'd like it to, but it's awesome when someone I know or regulars like, oh, we're taking this trip to this place. And I'm like, oh, I've been there. Let me tell you where to go. And then I tell them, and then I've had it to where then I'll get tagged in something, and they're, I had a couple friends a few years ago, and they went to Japan, and I'd been in Japan. I spent a month there and love it. And I was like, all right, well, what are y'all trying to do? Are you staying in like Airbnbs? Are y'all staying in hostels? There's really amazing like boutique, nice hostels now everywhere. I was like, there's some places that, I was like, what cities are you going to? Oh, we're going here. And I'm like, stay at this hostel. like book this hostel, and there's a cool little bar and restaurant in front of it, and it's like the most awesomest place. And then they like messaged me from that place, like when they went, and they were like, oh my God, this place is amazing. And like, you're right, like awesome Japanese craft beer here and all this other, they're like some of the best times and coolest people we met were like when we stayed there. And I was like, thank you. Like, yes. So, cause Americans we travel within the country. And if we do leave the country, we do the kind of, touristy travel that we do. And to get people to like kind of create more of it, because when you stay at a hostel, and this is what I fell in love with in the beginning, people think, oh, like bunch of strangers from around the world and this and that. It's like it's like-minded travelers from all over the world, and so you're not only experiencing the culture of the country you're in, you're meeting all these people from around the world, and you're going out with them and you're grabbing food, and you see their take on things, the perspective. You have best conversations ever. And so that's the big part of traveling to me. It's not just the place you're going, it's like also the other people you're meeting. And that comes full circle. You meet people, let's go out to food, and then you eat some local food, and you're sharing it with this group of international people. And that's your whole experience,
And that's what you try to replicate with the food truck.
Right, exactly. So that's what we try to replicate. We've got a casual thing where people come and they, everyone's laid back. And so, yeah, exactly.
As we wrap up, what do you feel like people misunderstand about the food industry?
How hard it is.
Yeah.
I think we've seen recently, everyone has probably seen that every restaurant and bar in that world is hiring right now, along with most other industries. But what's happened in the restaurant industry recently is people left. COVID, all the restaurants shut down. No one had jobs. They found jobs somewhere else, and no one's coming back. And the shortages are huge because it's such a hard work environment on both sides. It's like the front of the house, the back of the house, and so people don't want to do that. They're like, why would I go torture myself through that? So we're seeing a bit of like a revolution in the industry to where employers are having to treat their employees better. Employees are kind of have their way right now. They can go to a job anywhere, so they have their pick of the litter. But then also I'm hoping a lot of customers realize too, it's like, have a little sympathy. Like, you have no idea how hard their jobs are. Like when your server is running around like crazy and you're mad because your tea is half empty, like, don't be. Like, they are killing themselves their job is hard. It is rough. It is so, not a lot of people can do that. It takes a certain kind of person who can do that kind of work. You see it in the industry. You see people get hired and they just don't last. That's not cut out for them. So I'm kind of glad it's happening right now, because hopefully it's bringing a little bit of light to the industry and how difficult it is. And I'm kind of a little scared too to see where it's going to go, because restaurants can't afford, margins are so slim, they can't afford to pay people the kind of wages that they're having to pay and going to have to pay to keep good staff.
Isn't it like a 1% to 2% profit margin anyway?
A really well-run restaurant, and a very efficient, well-run, well-put-together restaurant, it will bottom line about 10%. That's not all restaurants though, at all. And there's here where it's very seasonal in a lot of places. There's months where you do that or more, and there's months where you're taking a loss. So sometimes it doesn't even average out to that. So you kind of think about that, and it makes a big difference when all of a sudden your food cost is through the roof right now. Paper goods, my costs have gone up tremendously, and I'm a small time thing that luckily has not been affected as much by COVID. I was a fast model for food, so we kind of were okay, and people would come and get quick food from us. We didn't have to shut our doors except when we chose to. But yeah, I'm actually shocked that a lot of restaurants are still hanging on and still there. I'd be scary to look at their books, what they're doing now as what they were doing a year and a half ago. So it's a lot of like, hang on out there, guys. Like, I hope y'all make it, because there's plenty, it's my people, I don't want to see anyone go out of business or start, get to a point where they're like, this just isn't worth it anymore. But the environment's hard right now. Costs have gone up tons. You're having to pay people a lot more. A lot of restaurants aren't doing the volume they used to do. I think things are coming back now that COVID's kind of, cycling down.
Mm-hmm. So be kind is your message.
Yeah, be kind. Like when you go out to eat, be kind to those places, because you don't know you don't know what's stopping next week when you go there to be a sign on the door that says, we're closed, we're out of business, but we didn't make it. We've been hanging on for months and months, and we thought, it just, the environment isn't friendly. We didn't make it, And yeah, so when you go out, be thankful and be kind to your people out there.
Yes, and take time to connect.
Yeah, the ones that are staying working in restaurants, they are sticking it out. I mean, they've put up with a lot, and the fact that they're still there and not, you know what? There's an office job that'll pay me the same or more, and I can sit in the air conditioning, and I don't have to hear people yell at me or get mad, or even my bosses or, customers, or I don't get it from both ends. And so they're still there, and they're still doing it. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we appreciate your food truck so much, Nomadic Eats, in case anyone missed that. Can you tell everyone where to follow you on social? Because you also put menus and stuff up on there as well, correct?
Yeah. So Instagram at Nomadic Eats, and then Nomadic Eats on Facebook. And what we do, most of our social media is we just feed specials on there. So our menu stays the same, mostly Tuesday through Saturday, 11 to 3 for lunch. And Saturdays, we've been doing kind of different menus here and there. That's our day to kind of like, let's do something totally different. So anytime we do any kind of special or different menu, we always plug in our social media by around 9 o'clock in the morning. So you just tune into that. You'll see a lot of people show up and they're like, oh, I came for this. And I'm like, oh, it was a special we did 2 weeks ago.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
So check the dates, everyone.
Yeah,
check the
dates. It's something that the algorithms of Instagram really gets people.
Yeah.
Because it'll pop up on their feed, and they came, and I was like, that was days ago.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and your purpose of connecting through food. This has been great. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Woo. That's a wrap. Thanks for listening. If you liked this episode, you'll also like the one with the Shark Week show host, Kinga Phillips, on connecting with people in other cultures and why it's good to be a weirdo. That's episode 44. Stay tuned next week when I talk with a practicing psychotherapist and executive director of the Environmental Health Trust about the love-hate relationship we have with our cell phones. Talk to you next week.